Hello, everyone. This is Leonard de Guzman with Emily Robinson on the Modern Divorce podcast. We're here. We're like, what, 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving. The
Believe
year
it.
is the year's just going by in like super 100x fast forward. Like when you're on Netflix, you fast forward it. You're on the remote and just you want to like fast forward a little bit and then just takes off. That's how the
I
year is
know.
here.
It does feel
Uh,
like that.
Yep. So that's how some marriages, I imagine, go. With how one year you could just it just flies by, right? Like the for your first year marriage to the 10th, maybe sometimes if you make it. So we're here. So Thanksgiving and the holidays are coming. So I imagine this is like a different season for you as far as you're getting phone calls from clients. Um, People are like staying in town, going out of town. What's that for you? How's this part of the year for you?
Yeah, I mean, usually people don't really want to fight as much during the holidays, so they don't necessarily file to go to court. But on the other hand, there were things that were set previously that are going to court in November and December. So it's still been really busy. I think it's actually been busier than normal. I think because COVID pushed all the court dates around, and I think the courts are still playing catch up, trying to just get back into the rhythm and on the schedule we were on before, because it's hard. I mean, it's hard to make up for all the time the court was shut down.
And then also too with COVID, I know like more specifically like in SoCal, have a lot of people like kind of like that like in like I guess your line of business, have a lot of people like moved like around like the surrounding states or maybe the other side because it's part of the conversation out here in California.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because it's so expensive to live here. And also, a lot of people don't necessarily like the COVID rules here. So I've seen a lot of people move out of state because of those two reasons.
And that affects like the whole like because like you said you have an agreement and then maybe one of the parents moves and that just does that blow up the whole agreement or does that translate to other states?
No, I mean, if you have a custody schedule and it's unable to be followed because you're moving, there's no way to follow the actual order, then yeah, it blows up the order that you have, and people have to renegotiate. And if they can't come to a new agreement, then you end up litigating in court, and it can be really ugly.
I think we like went through the whole like show. We had so much there. I'm already like trying to trying to see what else we could cover. So let's get to the
There's
part of the
always
show.
things to
This
talk
is
about.
supposed to be a light warm up, but yeah. So let's get to the part of the show where we go through the divorce news, where we see what trends are on Google. A lot of times we run into celebrity news. We use celebrity news and I guess gossip from TMZ because they're relatable. They're like people like us who are going through the same things. And also there's, things that come up where social media plays a part here now in divorce. How other I see here divorce attorney going through their own divorce. So let's get to it. So Neo, the singer, the musician,
Huh?
he hasn't I haven't heard from him for a while. I don't know. I mean this was like when radio was popular. Now it's all on Spotify and I don't know. I have he's not on my playlist. I'm gonna have to add him now that I thought of him. So according to Yahoo News, pandemic saved my marriage. Neo tells of brutally honest conversations that helped him from divorce. So Neo's marriage to Crystal Smith may have been a wrap if it weren't for the pandemic. In February 2020, the Let Me Love You singer filed for divorce from the former reality TV star after 4 years of marriage and welcoming two children, sons Schaefer and Roman. But with mandated stay-at-home orders in place worldwide, both Neo and Smith were granted a period of time to deal with the private issues that threatened to undo their union. We were talking full-on divorce, explained Neo during an October 28th experience on Good Morning Britain. It forced us to sit down and talk about our problems and reconnect with our kids. He said, having become accustomed to being on the road and catching flights for performances, Neo welcomed and embraces to the change in pace, as well as the opportunity to strengthen his bond with Smith. The pandemic saved my marriage. He said, there's so much FaceTime. There's only so much FaceTime you can do. In the pandemic, we lost a lot of people, but in my case, it helped a lot of instances in my life. We had brutally honest conversations. So this is a positive thing. We hear a lot of like marriages failing during the pandemic.
Yeah, I think it really puts your marriage to the test, having to, be stuck at home together, and there wasn't anywhere to go. There isn't a lot of room to breathe or have, time to yourself. And it can cause a lot of breakups, but it can also help people reconnect and really talk about the things that are important. So I think, that's great to hear a positive story.
Here's something interesting with this whole meta thing with Facebook and how it looks like the internet's going to evolve to the next evolution. So this one is from Psychology Today: Marriage, Divorce, and Social Media, a recipe for disaster. So 10 tips on how to use social media to protect yourself during your divorce. So the key points are social media posts can exacerbate the difficult dynamics that play during divorce. Staying off social media can help divorcing people focus on their family or their own self-care. When posting during divorce, individuals should aim to avoid posting negative content that could invite retaliation or hurt a loved one. So the article goes on and they say many studies have shown that social media has a negative effect on marriage. So here are the findings. A study published in Computers in Behavior found a link between social media use and decreased marriage quality in every model analyzed. The study results predict that people who do not use social media are 11% happier in their marriages than people that regularly use social media. Many of my clients have discovered their spouse is cheating on social media, according to a study by the Loyola University Health System. Facebook, with more than 2 billion users, is cited in one of every 5 divorces in the United States. And according to American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, 81% of divorce attorneys report increasing numbers of spouses searching for online evidence when they are suspicions of bad behavior, infidelity, or online affairs. So, are they looking that like you commented on someone else's post, or like does this happen? Does this actually is this a problem like they're saying?
Well, I think it is. Social media has been a problem for a long time, because people, you can control what you post, but you can't control what other people post. So when other people link you or comment, or, you start to see who's connected to who, and you may find out that your spouse is talking to somebody that you didn't want them to be talking to, or you suspect there could be an affair or something going on, because obviously two people are very connected and always commenting on each other's stuff. So I think it is a real problem. And I think social media can be, very dangerous in a lot of ways, because again, you can't control what people post about you. You can only control your own stuff. And anytime you're in a world where you don't have control over how your name or image is used, you could be in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, this is about to be like put on turbo, because it's like it's just gonna be crazier when this whole, we're talking about meta, like it's not, first of all, it's not Facebook anymore. We have to switch its meta. Okay, like they don't want anything to do with Facebook name because probably get sued. But I can't imagine like the next iteration of it. It's just so this it's just so like what is it like? I think it was like 11 or 18%. It's just gonna go to like 90%. I think in the next few years.
Yeah, yeah, I would not be surprised.
Gosh, it's like if you blame Facebook for everything now. Like it's like with the whole politics and everything, and now divorce. So like it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna blame Facebook. Facebook. It's just gotten a bad rap. So we'll see how that evolves. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next few weeks here, the next month. So
You
let's
can't be
move
that
on.
like giant of an entity and not have some fallout and criticism.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone, I guess if you're not big enough, you don't get sued. So that's a sign that you're just becoming enormous. So let's go to this one from MSNBC. How this divorce lawyer navigated her own divorce and why it wasn't easy because of her profession. Everyone assumed the divorce process would be easy for Sonia. Um, Mitch, how am I saying? Michichi. In truth, she was paralyzed by fear. So divorce, it crossed my mind for several years before I ever said it out loud. One snowy night, while waiting for my now ex-husband to arrive, he was late and I was alone again. It hit me, if this was as good as my marriage would get, it wasn't good enough. That day, I made a private resolution to get a divorce. A few days later, while chatting with my friend, I heard I'm unhappy in my marriage and I want divorce. Just tumble out of my mouth. For a moment, the phrase hung between us, almost frozen in the air. It felt surreal. It felt scary. It felt sad. But at the end, hearing myself admit, it was loud but liberating. And soon after, I felt ready to take the first steps. As a divorce lawyer, I have helped countless people through their own divorces, complex, emotional, tragic. I've seen it all naturally because of my profession. Everyone assumed that deciding to get a divorce would be the hardest part for me. The rest of the process will be easy. They said you already know what to do. In truth, I was paralyzed with fear. I felt disoriented, shaky, and unsure of where or how to begin unraveling the last 15 years of my life. So I clung to the mantra I had repeated, and so many of my clients take baby steps by breaking the divorce process down into smaller, manageable components and implementing specific coping strategies. I was able to regain a sense of control. The closer I got to the finish line, the more empowered I felt. So here's how I did it. So she's number one is collect important documents. Number two is write things down. Take control of the time and money you spend with the professionals you hire by writing things down in advance. Number three, identify where you agree and disagree. The more you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse can agree on, the better you will be off. Number four is get advice. I can assure you during your divorce, there will be days you just cannot get up in the morning. Some days I couldn't get myself to take a shower or handle basic personal needs. And number five here, for 5 minutes, just don't think about it. Seriously, you just don't think about your divorce for 5 minutes. It goes on, but yeah, so divorce attorneys get divorced. That's surprising.
They do. And I mean, they're people too. And but I think that it's interesting because even if you know all the legal steps to do and you commonly do it every day for other people, that doesn't mean it's emotionally easy for you. And that doesn't mean that you're able to, face it and handle it just because you're used to doing it. It's really different when you're dealing with your own thing and your own emotions in your own marriage. So I think, that attorney pointed that out, and I think it's a really good point. Um, you know, you can still be paralyzed with fear, even if this is what you do every day.
All right, so divorce attorneys do have bad days too. And with that, let's get into the show where we asked Emily anything, like AMA Emily. So this part of the show, we go over posts of people in their divorce journey, whether they're starting out, whether they're having trouble with things like child custody, splitting assets. Let's see. This one is getting started one. Awkward on my computer didn't load. So I told my wife yesterday that I'm not in love with her anymore. We've almost had this conversation a few times, but it's actually happened. I love and respect her in a lot of ways, but I haven't been in love with her for quite a while, and it's time to let go for the sake of both of our future happiness. I've tried to feel differently, but this is a couple of years in the making. We're both in our 20s, have been together since high school. It's been about 10 years. We helped each other grow and learned a lot, but we're different people now. And the worst part is this is 100% one-sided. She's still madly in love with me. I don't know how to handle this. It breaks my heart to cause her so much pain and have her beg me to reconsider. We still live together and have to figure out all our debts and expenses before we separate. We have 2 dogs. That's complicating things too. We rent and have no children. We don't anticipate any legal issues. The biggest logistic hurdle is that we have a few $1,000s in debt that we need to split up, but I believe we can remain amicable through all this. This happened yesterday, and I'm trying to be supportive and loving because I do love her, but it's really hard because being around her while she's crying, begging me to stay. She woke up at 5 a.m. Crying hysterically. It breaks my heart. I don't know what to do and could really use some advice.
Wow, that's a tough situation. I mean, it sounds like he's made his decision. He's not in love with her anymore, and this is the right call for him, but it doesn't necessarily make it any easier for her. You know, it's hard because you feel bad for the other person, but you also feel like you need to do what's right for you. So he probably did the hardest step, which was telling her how he feels and what he wants to do from here. And now there is going to be some emotional fallout to deal with. And it's just about staying strong and knowing that you made the right decision and trying, it's probably going to be hard for him to be her emotional support because he's the one causing the pain. So helping her find resources to be, supportive for her that are different than, him.
I can't resist this next one. It says, my daughter doesn't like me. So this is a custody one. So my daughter's 11 years old. She told me yesterday she doesn't want to come to my house anymore because she doesn't like me. I still love you, Dad. I just don't like you, and I'm not sure why. So her mom and I have a terrible history, and her mom has barely spoken to me in the last 10 years. Only in the past year has her mom even started to acknowledge me as a human being at things like sporting events, cheer practice, etc. Her mother tried to take my rights in courts, and we've gone all the way to trial twice and completely through trial once. I got what I call the standard daddy plan, where I see my daughter essentially 6 days a month. Has anyone else had trouble bonding with their children when they only had 6 days a month to do it, and an ex that wants the worst for you and refuses to communicate?
Wow, that's really tough. As kids get older, their needs change. They may align with one parent more than the other for whatever reasons. Maybe one parent's pushing it, or maybe the kid just feels more bonded to one parent. But I don't think it's like an insurmountable problem. There's many people that have 6 days a month and still are able to be very bonded to their kids and have a great relationship. So I think it's more about what's going on, underneath. So when a child says, I don't like you, but I don't know why, that's a very tricky situation, and it may mean that they are being coached or told not to like daddy. And I would get into therapy immediately so you can get to the bottom of these issues. As I do minors attorney work where I'm the attorney for children, and I've seen firsthand that unless you intervene very quickly, when things start going downhill, it just gets harder and harder to fix it. And therapists can offer a lot of insight as to whether the child actually feels this way or they're being told to feel this way.
All right, let's get to our last post of the day. This is a getting started one. These ones these headlines are, I can't resist. This was the WTF just happened. Okay, so he's completely blindsided and no idea what I do now. 47, married 18 years, 2 daughters living with us, own our home. Daughters are 16 and 18. No infidelity on either side, no anger. Wife just dropped the bomb that she can't do this anymore. She seemed 100% decided. I don't believe this will be this is a big word, a criminaceous divorce from either side. Let's just say like a difficult divorce is synonym. My parents are late 70s, high school sweethearts, married, approaching 60 years. So I have no idea what this kind of upheaval is like. Frankly, I'm just in complete shock. I'm confused, hurt, totally disoriented. My entire world and future just vaporized in front of my face. Our girls don't even know yet. Can someone just explain to me how this works? What I should expect, what I need to know, plan, and think about?
Well, it's hard when it's kind of a shock and you feel like it's out of nowhere. But the big thing is, like, don't bite off more than you can chew. Like, don't try to handle all the emotions and the procedural stuff and the legal stuff all at once, because it's just too overwhelming and it will be too stressful. Definitely, try to talk to your spouse and get your ducks in a row and figure out together what the next steps are. If it's too contentious and you can't do that, then probably make a consultation with an attorney and a therapist to figure out what your next steps are emotionally and legally, and go from there. But don't try to do it all on your own, or do it all at once, because it will just make it that much worse. You can't handle all of that at one time.
All right, we made it to the end. Thanks so much for joining us on the Modern Divorce Podcast, and see you next week.